Welcome to Second to None Media. You're watching continued coverage of the state of Texas case involving the death of Dallas rapper MO3. In this episode, we begin the defense's side of the evidentiary hearing on the motion in limine. After hearing the prosecution's arguments, the defense now responds, challenging the state's positions and presenting their legal arguments regarding what evidence should be considered at trial. This coverage is presented for news reporting, education, and public interest. All defendants are presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. Let's return to the courtroom.
We ask that you keep this evidence out during the guilt-innocence phase. Now, the Unruly Citizens Concert of July 27, 2019, that the state seeks to admit to show the beef between MO3 and Mr. Conway, that was a strange one. Again, logically, if MO3 was really booked for the show to appear on stage with Conway, he would have entered the venue through the entrance that performers and the crew enter, not live stream himself walking through to the main entrance, where he was arrested. And also, there's no evidence that Mr. Conway had anything to do with MO3 being stopped. No evidence that Mr. Conway had anything to do with MO3 being denied entrance into the venue. In fact, you heard Detective Barnes testify that he was concerned about Mr. Conway and MO3 being on the stage at the same time, so he contacted Frisco PD, and they affected MO3 being stopped from entering the venue. They affected his arrest.
One moment. Who are those standing in the back? I'm going to need
you you have copies of all the videos and all the lyrics that the state wants to get into. I'm not going to go through every single one, but I start on page 25, 26, and 27 of my brief. We argue that no evidence of the rap music created or sang by Mr. Conway or anyone else is admissible during the guilt phase. Going through the state's amended notice of extraneous evidence dated July 8th, there's no evidence supporting the state's or Detective Barnes' contention that the song Pick Six, or Six Pick, from October 20th, 2017 had anything to do with the planning of the murder of MO3 or with the beef that, again, MO3 largely manufactured for his own commercial benefit. During the hearing last week, you heard Detective Barnes, Your Honor, say for an instant that Mr. Conway is largely like a local rapper, but then on cross-examination, Mr. Shook got Detective Barnes to admit that no, actually he already had a big national following. That's why Mr. Conway, is going to places like Los Angeles to do recording. Local rappers usually aren't invited to Los Angeles and New York to make rap music in numerous studios. And all these songs, Keep It in the Street, Love I Had, A Guardian Angel, none of them have anything to do with any motive or any other exception, contextual or otherwise, about the murder of MO3 on November 11, 2020, Your Honor. And like on the January 27, 2021 song, Hypocrite, where Trap Boy Freddy is mocking the death of MO3. Again, Your Honor, that's not evidence that Mr. Conway or any alleged co-conspirator, the three other indicted gentlemen, caused MO3's death. It doesn't fall under any of the exceptions of 404B2. It doesn't fall under 3836. Again, these songs, it's true that a person, Mr. Vela said this earlier, it's true that a person doesn't have a First Amendment right to music or any expression that's not his own. However, these expressions are at least partly Mr. Conway's, and he can't be punished. Like if he wrote a song, the lyrics for a song, he can't be punished for expressing them, especially here commercially. And no evidence of the interviews of other social media posts are admissible during the guilt phase, Your Honor, like the live stream from the evening of MO3's death. And for Detective Barnes to sit up there and say in front of the jury, well, he doesn't seem bothered by it. Well, Your Honor, Detective Barnes doesn't know Mr. Conway personally. He doesn't know how certain people react to a person's death. And I mean, you know, and Mr. Conway and MO3 weren't friends. Usually people that are upset about that someone's death, it occurs that they knew them and had some affection for them. Here we have a case where, you know, MO3 largely manufactured a beef against Mr. Conway because he saw Mr. Conway as, you know, one of the premier rappers in the Dallas area. You know, Dallas is one of the largest metropolitan areas in the country, so that made Mr. Conway, especially after he went national, one of the premier rappers in the country. Obviously, you know, Mr. Noble, MO3, has a lot of motive to manufacture a beef with one of the top rappers in the country. And that's what happened here. And that's all that happened. And finally, Your Honor, as I point out on page 29 and 30, if the court takes the state's amended notice of extraneous evidence dated July 8, 2026, and runs them through the Montgomery and Giglio-Bianco test, this court should find that none of it is admissible, and even any of it that might come close to a line of admissibility, the prejudicial effect far outweighs the probative value to admit this evidence during the guilt-innocence phase and before Mr. Conway takes a stand, if he takes a stand. And also, I just briefly mentioned, Your Honor, on page, you know, we didn't really do a 702 hearing, but, you know, if the court construes last week's hearing as a 702 hearing, Detective Barnes, Your Honor, isn't qualified to provide expert testimony about the meaning of videos, interviews, and social media posts unless a much stronger foundation is laid for the evidence, because, frankly, his testimony is nothing more than personal opinions and narratives. Detective Barnes admitted, Your Honor, that he received little to no cooperation from people on the street about MO3's murder. He said that on the stand. He couldn't get evidence or witnesses, so instead he went to YouTube to start looking for evidence to match what he believes happened in this case. You know, Detective Barnes' belief isn't evidence, Your Honor. And he also admits that this is the first time he's worked a case like this, where he's broken down rap lyrics line by line and tries to offer opinions on the meaning of lyrics. Now, as the court knows, jurors place great weight on expert testimony, and the trial court has a heightened responsibility to ensure that expert testimony is both relevant and reliable. We believe that, you know, Detective Barnes is allowed to testify before the jury, as he did here, that the jury will place great weight on his testimony and believe that his personal opinions about the meaning of lyrics and, you know, about what MO3 was thinking during the Capone interview is actual fact and is not fact. And that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
Video games aren't cheap, and buying every new release can add up fast. GameFly has been helping gamers save money since 2002 by letting members rent PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and even movies delivered right to their mailbox. There are no late fees, shipping is free both ways, and if you find a game you love, you may be able to buy it at a discounted member price through the Keep option. Memberships are flexible, so you can start, pause, or cancel based on your gaming schedule. If you'd like to learn more about how GameFly works and see whether it's right for you, simply scan the QR code on your screen.
Thank you for watching Second to None Media. This concludes part 1 of the defense's response during the evidentiary hearing on the motion in limine. In the next episode, part 2, we continue with the defense's arguments as attorneys further challenge the prosecution's evidence and explain their position before the court. Stay tuned for the next chapter of this courtroom series, only here on Second to None Media. If you appreciate this type of courtroom coverage and legal analysis, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Second to None Media, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future updates. Also, follow us across all social media platforms for more breaking stories, courtroom coverage, and in-depth reporting. Thank you for being part of the community.